Welcome to Ruger Tech Tips. I'm going to show you how to reassemble your PC charger. Before I begin, I've made sure that I have no live ammunition in my magazine or in my work area. For tools, you're going to need just some simple tools. You will need a soft-faced hammer. You will need a torque wrench set to 65 inch-pounds of torque. You will need a 3/32 hex head driver and a punch. I use a 3/32 punch and a good pair of safety glasses. So to begin with, I'm going to build up my bolt assembly. I'm going to do this as a sub-assembly. So the first thing I'm going to install is the dead blow weight. And this can go in multiple ways. It only works actually one way. You'll notice there's a hole that goes through this for the firing pin. And that, with the bolt upside down in this position, that hole needs to be up. Now it doesn't matter whether it goes this way or this way, but the hole needs to be facing up with the bolt upside down. So I'm just going to drop that in place. The firing pin, okay, it's a long shaft. About a third of the way up, you'll see a raised ridge all the way around. That is the front end, so I'm going to insert that, and you want to go all the way in. It's only going to stick out about 1/4 inch out the face of the bolt, and that would be correct. The firing pin spring is non-directional, so that's just going to slide over the firing pin. The bolt face, there's two sides to this. On one side it is a flat square, and then if you roll it over, there's kind of a concave side to that. The concave side with the bolt upside down in this position is going to be facing up. So I'm going to slide this bolt face back in, and you'll feel it compress, and when you compress that, there's your two bolt pins to hold the bolt face in place. You're going to insert those through the top. Those back in, so they're holding that in place. Next, we're going to grab the extractor spring, and the pin. So you want to grab those three components. And I'm just going to roll my bolt over to the side so the extractor slot is up towards me. Spring is non-directional, it doesn't matter which way that goes in. Your extractor is going to sit on top of that spring. And the spring is somewhat stiff. You've got to compress that in good shape. The pin goes in right behind where the two bolt pins you just put in, the bolt face pins you just put in. So I'm going to insert that pin through the top, and you can just feel it line up, compresses down in. Bolt assembly is complete. So I'm going to take this, the bolt, and from the rear I have the bolt top, which is where your spring and your guide rod and buffer are located. So I'm going to put that all in as assembly. The receiver, I'm going to turn this whole assembly so the bolt top goes to the top, but this is upside down, so I'm going to roll this over. Now when you compress this in, make sure you don't put the bolt face, push the bolt face all the way up until the bolt is all the way down, because your bolt pins will come out. So I'm just going to install this. I'm going to grab my buffer and I'm going to compress that in and down, and now that's going to drop all the way in place. You have a bracket that goes on the back of the receiver. There's two little tabs that it's going to fit in between. So I'm going to set that bracket in place. I'm going to grab my 3/32 driver, and I'm going to drive that screw in. And for now, I'm just going to screw this in finger tight. I'm just going to get it snugged up. And I need to torque that screw down to 65 inch-pounds of torque. So I have my driver set to 65 inch-pounds of torque. Clicks off. Okay, so I've got 65 inch-pounds of torque of that. From there, I'm going to install my trigger group. So that's going to go in from the bottom. I'm going to line up the two cross pin holes. The two pins are non-directional. It's the same pin, so it doesn't matter which way those go in. It's just a matter of lining those holes up. Now, you will get some that you just have to tap in. That's not a big deal. You want to get these even on both sides, so make sure that those are flush. Next up, I'm going to install my charging handle. Now, at this point, the charging handles are reversible, so you can decide which side you're going to put the charging handle on. I'm going to put it on the same side as it came from the factory. And again, that's a 3/32 screw, so I use my 3/32 driver. Make it hand tight, and then I'm going to go to my torque wrench and install that with 65 inch-pounds of torque. From there, I'm ready to take my chassis and install that onto my receiver assembly. So I'm going to put this down on top. These can be a little snug, so just press that down. My front screw, I'm going to screw this down in. Again, finger tight, 3/32. All of the screws are 3/32 and 65 inch-pounds of torque for your disassembly and reassembly. I have my grip and the mount for the grip, so I'm going to slide that on the back. The bolt for that, hex head bolt, goes through the top. And I'm going to screw that in again, just hand tight for now. And then I'm going to put in my torque wrench, and I'm going to go to 65 inch-pounds of torque. Roll that over, and I'm going to do the front screw. I'm going to pull the bolt assembly to the rear and lock that back. Next up, I'm going to grab my barrel assembly. I'm going to install that. So at this point, I've built up my PC charger. I want to make sure everything's correct. So I'm going to let my bolt go forward. I'm going to put my safety on. I'm going to try my trigger. I can't pull my trigger through. Put it into the fire position. I can fire that. Cycles. Everything seems to be in working order. You have successfully reassembled your PC charger. Thanks for watching this Ruger Tech Tip.